When Eli Mercer dragged that rusted locomotive onto his farm, his neighbors thought he'd lost his mind. But inside the sealed boiler, hidden behind welded compartments filled with sand, he found something that made his blood run cold. Dispatch logs that weren't supposed to exist, maps of a rail line that had been erased from every county record, and dates that proved someone had been running ghost trains in the dead of night. His wife had died 5 years earlier, and the doctors never knew why. Now, staring at those documents, Eli realized the water they'd been drinking was poisoned, and the people responsible had buried the evidence for 30 years. They warned him to stay quiet. Then they burned his equipment shed to the ground. But Eli wasn't going to stop, because the truth was already rising through the soil, and an entire county was about to learn what happens when you bury poison and call it history. Subscribe and drop your location in the comments, because this story tears open a cover-up that destroyed lives, and you need to hear every word. The flatbed groaned as Eli backed it down the dirt track. The locomotive sat rusted and silent, a hulk of iron that had cost him $300 and most of his pride. Neighbors slowed their trucks on the county road. He saw their faces through the dust. They didn't wave. Eli cut the engine and climbed down. His boots hit gravel. The afternoon sun painted long shadows across his back 40. He walked around the flatbed, checking chains. "You planning to run a railroad?" Old Hank called from his porch 2 lots over. "Salvage," Eli said. He didn't look up. "Looks like junk to me." Eli pulled the release lever. The chains went slack. "That's the point." The locomotive had copper in the boiler fittings, iron in the frame, maybe brass valves if he got lucky. The bank wanted 2 months' payment by October. Scrap metal didn't judge him for grieving too long. He rigged the winch and dragged the engine off the flatbed. It scraped and settled with a groan that carried across the pasture. Rust flaked onto dry grass. Hank wandered over, hands in his pockets. "Sarah wouldn't have liked this." Eli's jaw tightened. "Sarah's gone." "I know," Hank shuffled. "Just saying." "Then don't." Hank left without another word. Eli stood alone with the engine. The wind picked up, rattling dead leaves in the fence line. He'd spent 20 years loading boxcars at the rail yard. He knew locomotives. This one was Depression era, maybe older. The tender was gone. Just the engine block and boiler, stripped down for disposal. He grabbed his toolbox from the truck. The sun dropped behind the trees. He needed to catalog what was salvageable before dark. The access panel came off with a screech. He played his flashlight across the boiler interior. Oxidation everywhere. Flaking paint. The guts of a machine built to haul freight through winter. He moved to the dome hatch. The bolts fought him. He worked them. Loose one by one, rust grinding under the wrench. The hatch popped. He aimed the light inside. Something rattled. Eli froze. The sound came from deep in the firebox. Not the clatter of loose bolts or settling metal. Something deliberate. He leaned closer. His breath fogged in the beam. The rattle came again, hollow and distinct. He reached for the crowbar. His pulse kicked up. There shouldn't be anything loose inside a sealed boiler. The wind died. The pasture went still. Eli killed the work light and stood in darkness. The rattle echoed once more, then stopped. He'd need better tools. And daylight. He walked back to the house, leaving the engine where it sat. Behind him, the boiler ticked as it cooled. Morning came cold and clear. Eli ate toast, standing at the sink. Through the window, the locomotive squatted in the lot like a beached ship. He finished his coffee and headed out. The boiler access panel hung open from yesterday. He set up a work lamp and dragged over his grinder. If something was rattling, he'd find it. The interior welds caught his eye first. They ran along the firebox seams, too clean for a machine this old. Someone had sealed compartments that shouldn't exist. "Strange," he muttered. He traced the welds with his finger. New metal against old. The work was crude but effective. Someone had hidden something. He grabbed the crowbar and wedged it under a seam. The weld cracked. Metal squealed. He pried until a plate came loose. Sand poured out, dry and orange. He swept it aside. Behind the sand, tucked into the cavity, sat an oily satchel wrapped in canvas. His hands shook as he pulled it free. The canvas was rotted but intact. He laid it on the ground and unwrapped it carefully. Inside, carbon copies of dispatch papers. Faded but readable. Dates from the late 80s. Route codes he didn't recognize. Beneath the papers, a hand-drawn map on yellowed grid paper. Rail lines in blue ink. A spur that split from the main track and curved south. The spur ended with an X and a notation. QR site. Eli's chest tightened. He'd worked the yard those years. He'd never heard of runs to any quarry site. "What the hell were you hauling?" he asked the engine. The papers showed tonnage logs, manifests without cargo descriptions, just weights and times, all-night runs, all signed by someone named H. Dwyer. Dwyer. The name rang familiar. Current sheriff, maybe? Or his father? Eli gathered the papers and stood. His knees cracked. The morning felt colder than it should. He walked to the house and locked the satchel in his desk drawer. The map stayed in his mind. The spur line ran through county land. Maybe through his land. He needed to talk to someone who remembered. Someone who kept records. Ruthie at the library. She'd been there 30 years. He grabbed his truck keys. The engine sat silent behind him. Its secrets were out, but the questions were just starting. The county truck rolled up 2 days later. Eli was cutting fence wire when he saw it coming. A woman climbed out, clipboard in hand. She wore a vest marked Environmental Services. Her expression said she'd rather be anywhere else. "Eli Mercer?" she called. "That's me." She walked to the gate. "I'm Mara Chen, County Inspector. Got a complaint about industrial storage." Eli set down the wire cutters. "It's a locomotive, for salvage." "I can see that." She scanned the lot. "You have permits for hazardous material?" "It's empty iron. Boilers can hold residue. Fuel oil, asbestos lining." She wrote something down. "I need to inspect it." Eli opened the gate. She followed him to the engine. Her boots crunched on gravel. She circled the locomotive, checking panels. She photographed the access hatches. When she saw the open firebox, she paused. "You been inside?" "Checking for salvage." "Find anything?" Eli hesitated. "Rust." She knelt and aimed her flashlight into the cavity. The beam caught the broken welds. She was quiet for a moment. "These seams look recent," she said. "Someone sealed compartments." "Why?" She looked up at him. "I don't know." She stood and brushed off her knees. "I need to document this. You test your well water recently?" "Why would I?" "Regional reports show solvent traces in some aquifers." She pulled a form from her clipboard. "I recommend testing. County can do it free." Eli's stomach dropped. Sarah's illness flashed through his mind. The doctors never found a cause. "When?" he asked. "I'll come back next week. Meanwhile, no cutting into sealed areas. If there's contamination, you could spread it. I'm just scrapping metal." "Then wait for clearance." She handed him a notice. "Keep the site secure." He took the paper. His hand felt heavy. "You recognize those dispatch codes in there?" Her eyes narrowed. "What codes?" "Nothing. Just old paperwork." She watched him for a beat. "Mr. Mercer, if you found something, you should report it. It's just history. History has a way of leaking." She turned toward her truck. "I'll be back Thursday." Eli stood alone with the notice. The locomotive felt heavier now. He'd invited scrutiny he couldn't afford. He walked to the house and texted Ruthie. Need to see old rail maps. Tomorrow? The reply came fast. 10 a.m. Bring questions. Eli walked his back 40 with the map and a measuring wheel. The morning was still. The pasture grass bent under his boots. He'd marked the start point where the map showed the spur splitting from the old main line. That line was gone, torn up decades ago. But if the spur existed, it ran through his land. He paced off distances. The wheel clicked. He stopped at a section where the ground felt wrong. Too firm. The tractor always jolted here. He pulled flagging tape from his pocket and marked a line, straight as the map suggested. The flags snapped in the breeze. You surveying? Caleb leaned on the fence. His neighbor, younger, with a daughter who played in the yard most days. Checking drainage, Eli said. Looks like you're hunting something. Just curious. Caleb climbed over. He walked the flagged line. This is where the ground's hard. I noticed it when I helped you bale last year. You think it's rock? Maybe. Or fill. Caleb kicked at the dirt. You want me to bring my metal detector? Eli paused. You have one? For arrowheads. Works on iron, too. Yeah. Bring it. Caleb left and returned 20 minutes later. The detector was old, duct-taped at the joints. He powered it on and swept the flagged line. The detector screamed. Caleb's eyebrows went up. That's a lot of metal. They walked the line. The detector chattered the whole way. At the fence, it faded. Past the fence, on county land, it picked up again. What is this? Caleb asked. A rail spur, buried. Why? That's what I'm trying to find out. Caleb shut off the detector. This about that engine? Eli nodded. People are talking. They think you've lost it. Maybe I have. Or maybe you found something. Caleb handed him the detector. Be careful, Eli. If this is buried, someone wanted it that way. Eli watched him leave. The flags marked a line that shouldn't exist. He pulled out his phone and photographed the whole stretch. Then he texted Mara the photo. No message. Just the image. Her reply came an hour later. We need to talk. The library smelled like dust and old carpet. Ruthie sat at her desk, reading glasses perched on her nose. She waved Eli over. You look worried, she said. I need to see rail maps, 1880s through the 90s. That's specific. She stood and led him to the back room, shelves lined with binders and rolled plats. What are you looking for? A spur line, off the main track. Ran south toward the quarry. Ruthie pulled a drawer open. The quarry spur, that's old. Hasn't been used since before you bought your place. It's on my land? Might be. Let me check. She unrolled a county survey from 1985. Rail lines marked in red. The main track ran east-west. A thin spur split off and curved south. Eli's finger traced it. That crosses my back 40. Did. It was decommissioned in 87. Torn up in 89. Why? Quarry closed. No freight to haul. She pulled another map. But here's the strange part. Look at the 95 update. The spur was gone, erased from the survey. Just pasture land shown. They removed it from the records, Eli said. Looks like it. Ruthie adjusted her glasses. Why does this matter? I found dispatch logs from 88 showing runs on that spur. Her face went still. After it was decommissioned? Yeah. That's not legal. Closed lines need permits to reactivate. Who would know about those runs? Rail yard managers, county transport office. She paused. Sheriff's office signed off on commercial permits back then. Hal Dwyer? His father, same name. Ruthie rolled up the maps. Eli, If you're digging into this, you need to be smart. People buried that spur for a reason. I'm just trying to understand. Understanding can be dangerous. She handed him photocopies. Take these. Don't tell anyone I helped. Eli left with the maps tucked under his arm. The locomotive wasn't just salvage, it was evidence, and evidence could get him killed. Eli spread the maps and dispatch logs across his kitchen table. Coffee went cold in his mug. The numbers didn't match. The locomotive's odometer showed scratches marking mileage. He compared them to the dispatch dates. The engine had run the spur line in late '88, 3 months after the official closure. He pulled out his phone and called Gus. The junkyard owner answered on the third ring. Yeah? Gus, it's Eli. That locomotive you sold me. Where'd you get it? Silence. Then, surplus auction? Why? Who ran the auction? County fleet liquidation. Some stuff from Tri-County Agri-Services. Why are you asking? Just curious about its history. Eli, that thing's been sitting in a lot for 30 years. It's junk. Where was the lot? Another pause. Old Tri-County Depot, near the canning plant. The plant that closed in '87? Yeah, look, I gotta go. Gus. The line went dead. Eli set the phone down. The canning plant, the spur, the dates aligned. He went to the sink and filled a glass. His well water tasted metallic. It always had. He'd assumed it was iron from the pipes. Now he wondered. Mara's warning echoed. Solvent traces in some aquifers. He dumped the water and grabbed a bottle from the fridge. His hands shook. Sarah had gotten sick 5 years ago. The doctors called it idiopathic. No known cause. What if the cause was in the water? He looked at the maps. The spur line ended near the quarry. The quarry was up gradient from his well. Damn it, he whispered. His phone buzzed. A text from Mara. Bringing test kit tomorrow. 9 a.m. Don't drink the water. He sat down hard. The locomotive had brought more than rust. It had brought the truth. And the truth was poison. Mara arrived at 9 with a case of vials and test strips. Caleb watched from his fence, arms crossed. His daughter played in the yard behind him. You tell him? Eli asked. About what? The water. That's your call. Mara set the case on the wellhead. But if his well's connected to yours, he deserves to know. Eli walked to the fence. Caleb met him halfway. What's going on? Caleb asked. County's testing my well. You should test yours too. Why? Precaution. Caleb's eyes narrowed. That's not an answer. I found something. I don't know what it means yet. But you think our water's bad? Eli nodded. Caleb looked back at his daughter. She was laughing, kicking a ball. How bad? I don't know. Jesus. Caleb rubbed his face. I'll call the county. Use bottled water until we know. Yeah. Caleb walked away. His shoulders were tight. Mara pulled samples from the well. She labeled each vial with a marker. The water looked clear. It always did. Nitrates are elevated, she said, checking a strip. Not over limits, but high. What about solvents? She ran another test. The strip changed color. She frowned. Possible chlorinated compounds. Need a lab to confirm. How long? 2 weeks. Maybe less if I flag it. Flag it. She packed the case. Eli, if this comes back positive, the county will have to investigate. That means your land, Caleb's land, maybe others. Good. It also means attention, questions. People won't like it. I don't care. She studied him. You sure about that? He thought of Sarah, the hospital bed, the confusion in her eyes when the pain got bad. I'm sure. Okay. She handed him a sheet. Results in 2 weeks. Don't panic. This could be nothing. But her voice said otherwise. After she left, Eli stood by the well. The ground was dry. The grass was brown. The water moved underground, carrying whatever the earth held. He went inside and drank from a bottle. The weight in his chest didn't lift. The locomotive had brought him here. To doubt. To fear. To the edge of something he couldn't unsee. He was too far in to stop now. The storm hit at dusk. Thunder rolled across the pasture. Rain hammered the roof. Eli watched from the porch as the sky went dark. Lightning split the horizon. The flagged line glowed white for an instant. He grabbed his coat and ran out. The rain soaked him in seconds. He needed to see what the water would reveal. The runoff carved channels across the field. The hard ground resisted, then broke. Water pooled along the flagged line, finding the path of least resistance. Eli followed it. Mud sucked at his boots. The rain stung his face. At the midpoint, where the detector had screamed loudest, the runoff gouged a shallow channel. Soil peeled back. Something dark showed underneath. He knelt. His fingers scraped mud away, a railroad tie, oxidized, unmistakable. The spur was real. Lightning flashed again. He saw the line stretching toward the quarry, buried under decades of soil and lies. He stood. Water ran down his back. The rain eased. The thunder moved east. This was the point, the moment where he could walk away, fill the channel, forget the map, scrap the engine and pay the bank. Or he could keep digging. He pulled out his phone. The screen was wet. He wiped it and called Mara. She answered. Eli? It's here. The spur. The rain exposed it. Where are you? My back 40. You need to see this. Now? Yes. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. The wind pushed clouds apart. Stars appeared. The pasture smelled like iron and rot. He'd crossed something tonight, a line he couldn't uncross. The locomotive sat in the lot behind him, silent, accusing. Tomorrow everything would change. The county would come. Questions would start. The truth would spread. He walked back to the house. His boots left mud on the porch. Inside, he stripped and dried off. Then he sat at the kitchen table and waited for Mara's headlights. The easy life was over. The fight had begun. Mara arrived with a camera and measuring tape. They walked to the exposed spur in the pre-dawn gray. She photographed the tie from multiple angles. This proves the map, she said. What happens now? I file a report, request a historical survey, see where the line leads. They followed the path toward the fence line. Beyond it, county land stretched toward the old quarry. The detector had picked up metal there, too. We need to check the quarry, Eli said. That's private property now. Owned by who? Tri-County Agri-Services. Eli stopped walking. The same company that owned the depot. Yeah. Mara lowered the camera. That's a problem. They drove to the courthouse after sunrise. Mara submitted permit requests for a historical rail survey. The clerk smiled politely and said it would take 6 weeks. 6 weeks? Mara asked. Standard processing time. This is environmental. It can be expedited. Not without supervisor approval? Sheriff Dwyer appeared in the hallway. He was 58, gray-haired, with a face that said he'd seen too much. He nodded at Eli. Heard you're digging up rails, Dwyer said. Just documenting them. On your property, that's your business. Off your property, you need permission. That's why I'm here, Mara said. Dwyer smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Sometimes old iron is best left to rest. Disturbing it can cause problems. Like what? Eli asked. Liability. Safety concerns. People get hurt poking around old sites. Is that a threat? It's advice. Dwyer's smile faded. Good advice. He walked away. The clerk's fingers froze on her keyboard. Mara grabbed Eli's arm. Outside. They stood by her truck. The morning sun felt cold. He's protecting something, Eli said. Or someone. Mara checked her notes. I'm going to push the permit through environmental emergency protocols. It'll make noise. Let it. Eli, these people have power. They can make your life difficult. They already did. My wife's dead. Mara's expression softened. We don't know that's connected. Not yet. He looked towards the quarry hills. But I will. She nodded. I'll file today. Meanwhile, talk to Gus. Get me that receipt trail. Eli drove to the junkyard. The gate was locked. A sign read, "Closed for inventory." Gus never closed for inventory. Eli found Gus 2 days later at the feed store. The old man looked tired. He tried to turn away, but Eli blocked him. We need to talk, Eli said. Not here. Then where? Gus sighed. My truck. 5 minutes. They sat in the parking lot. Gus gripped the steering wheel. His knuckles were white. You're making people nervous, Gus said. Good. It's not good, it's dangerous. Gus pulled a folded paper from his glove box. Here, the receipt you wanted. Eli unfolded it. The locomotive had been sold from a storage lot leased by Summit Transport, LLC. The company name meant nothing. Who's Summit Transport? Shell Company. Used to be a subcontractor for Tri-County. Used to be? Dissolved in '91. Eli's pulse quickened. Right after the spur was erased from the maps. I don't know about maps, I just broker metal. Gus, what were they hauling on that spur? I don't know. You're lying. Gus's face reddened. You want the truth? Fine. Rumors said they hauled waste, industrial stuff, from the canning plant and the blending facility, dumped it at the quarry. Did you see it? No, I heard it, from switchmen who drank too much. Gus turned to him. Eli, if you dig this up, everyone gets splashed, me included. I brokered equipment for Tri-County for 20 years. If they dumped waste, I'm part of the chain. You didn't know. Doesn't matter. Lawyers don't care. Gus started the engine. I gave you the receipt. That's all I can do. It's enough. No, it's not. Gus put the truck in gear. Watch your back. These people have money. Money buys silence. Eli climbed out. The truck pulled away. He stood holding the receipt, a fragile link in a chain he was pulling toward daylight. His phone buzzed. Mara. Permit approved. Survey team next week. Meet me at the quarry tomorrow, morning. He texted back. What time? 6 a.m. Bring a camera. Eli drove home. The locomotive sat under a tarp now, shielded from view. He wondered if hiding it mattered anymore. Everyone already knew he'd found something. The quarry gate was chained. A faded sign read, Private property. No trespassing. Mara ignored it. This is legal, Eli asked. Environmental inspection. The drought dropped the water level. I'm documenting runoff patterns. They climbed the fence. The quarry spread below them, a bowl of stone and stagnant water. Algae rimmed the edges. The smell was sharp. Chemical? Eli asked. Could be, or just decay. Mara led him down a steep path. The culvert's on the north side. They reached the water's edge. A concrete culvert mouth jutted from the limestone face. The rim was stained ochre and black. Runoff trickled from the opening, leaving a rainbow sheen on the water. Mara photographed it. Eli filmed with his phone. The stain looked old. Layers of residue built up over years. What is that? Eli asked. Need a lab to say for sure, but it's not natural. She pulled a collection bottle from her bag and scooped sediment from the culvert lip. Someone dumped here, Eli said. Looks like it. Recently. No, this is old. Decades. She sealed the bottle. But it's still leaching. Footsteps echoed above them. A man stood at the quarry rim. He wore a Tri-County polo and held a radio. You're trespassing, he called. County inspection, Mara shouted back. Not without notification. Emergency protocols. Check your email. The man spoke into his radio. Eli's stomach tightened. We should go, he said. Not yet. Mara filled another bottle. I need 3 samples. The man disappeared. Eli heard voices, more footsteps. Mara. Almost done. A truck engine rumbled above. Doors slammed. 2 more men appeared at the rim. Now, Eli said. Mara capped the last bottle and stuffed them in her bag. They climbed the path. At the top, a security guard blocked the gate. IDs, he said. Mara showed her county badge. Eli pulled his driver's license. The guard photographed both with his phone. You'll be hearing from our legal team, the guard said. So will you, Mara said. I'm filing a contamination report today. They drove away. Eli's hands shook. Mara was calm. That went well, she said. They know who we are now. Good. Let them worry. Eli looked back. The quarry sat quiet under the sun. But underneath, in the stone and water, something waited to rise. The survey team arrived on Tuesday. 2 technicians with ground-penetrating radar. Eli led them to the exposed tie. They mapped the spur line from his fence to the county road. It runs straight to the quarry access road, the lead tech said. What else do you see? Mara asked. He showed her the radar image. The spur was clear. But near the old trestle site, something else appeared. Anomalies in the soil. Dense objects clustered together. Could be debris from the trestle, he said. Or cargo, Eli said. The tech shrugged. Only one way to know. They walked to the trestle site. The abutment had collapsed years ago. Timbers lay half buried in sediment. Eli pulled on work gloves. Help me with this, he said to Mara. They pried loose a section of rotted timbers. The wood crumbled. Underneath, tangled in roots, a rusted drum rim broke the surface. Eli's breath caught. The drum was corroded but intact. He scraped mud from the side. A label appeared, faded, barely legible. TCN 88, chlorinated solvent, handle with care. Jesus, Mara whispered. Eli checked the stamp. A date, March 1988. He pulled the dispatch log from his pocket. March 88. 2 night runs, 8 tons each. It matches, he said. Mara photographed the drum from every angle. Don't touch it. This is hazmat now. How many are there? I don't know. Could be dozens. Eli stood. The trestle site stretched 50 yards. If drums were buried here, the whole area was contaminated. This is my land, he said. If they dumped here, I'm liable. Not if you didn't know. Doesn't matter. It's still my problem. Mara's phone rang. She answered. Her face went pale. She hung up. The lab results came back, she said. And? Your water has chlorinated solvent breakdown products. Above safe limits. She met his eyes. You need to stop using your well immediately. Eli felt the ground tilt. The locomotive, the drums, the water, it all connected. His wife had drunk that water for 10 years. How long has it been contaminated? He asked. Hard to say. Could be decades. He turned and walked away. Mara called after him. He didn't stop. He made it to his truck before the rage took over. He slammed his Irish fist into the hood. Once. Twice. The metal dented. They'd poisoned his land, his water, his wife, and someone had buried it, hidden it, lied about it. He pulled out his phone and called Mara. I want to know who signed off on those dumping permits, he said. Eli, find out. Today. He hung up. The fight wasn't about salvage anymore. It was about justice, and he'd burn everything down to get it. Len Barrow arrived 3 days later. He drove a clean sedan and wore a suit that cost more than Eli's tractor. His smile was measured. Mr. Mercer, I'm with Tri-County Agri-Services. Mind if we talk? Eli crossed his arms. About what? Your concerns. I understand you found some historical materials. Historical waste, you mean? Len's smile didn't falter. That's why I'm here. We want to address any potential issues responsibly. Responsibly would have been not dumping it. If dumping occurred, it was decades ago, before current regulations, before my time. Len pulled a folder from his briefcase. We're prepared to conduct a comprehensive study, soil testing, water monitoring, full remediation if needed. I've got a county inspector already doing that. I know, Ms. Chen, she's thorough. Len opened the folder. We're also prepared to purchase an easement across your property, for access, $5,000. Eli stared. You want to buy the right to clean up your own mess? We want to handle this quietly, efficiently, without unnecessary panic. Len leaned forward. Mr. Mercer, if this becomes public, property values drop, insurance rates spike, people sue, nobody wins. Except the lawyers. Exactly. Len tapped the contract. This protects you, shields you from liability, gives you compensation. And silences me. It gives you options, which is more than you'll have if this goes legal. Len's voice hardened. Courts take years. Lawyers drain accounts. Meanwhile, your farm sits worthless. Eli felt the threat beneath the words. Get off my land. Mr. Mercer. Now. Len stood. He tucked the folder away. You're making a mistake, a costly one. Won't be my first. Len walked to his car. He paused at the door. We have deep pockets, Mr. Mercer. Deeper than yours. Think about your future. The sedan pulled away. Eli watched until the dust settled. His phone rang. Mara. I found the permits, she said, or the lack of them. The dumping was never authorized. It was illegal. Who signed the transport orders? Harold Dwyer, sheriff at the time. Hal Dwyer's father. Yes, and guess who was on Tri-County's board in '88? Tell me. Harold Dwyer, after he retired from the sheriff's office. Eli closed his eyes. The circle closed. They paid him off. Looks like it. What about the current sheriff? Don't know, but he's been stonewalling my requests. Eli thought of the ledgers in his feed bin, the dispatch logs, the maps, all evidence, all targets. I'm moving the documents, he said. Somewhere safe. Good. Eli, watch yourself. These people aren't playing. Neither am I. He hung up and walked to the feed bin. The ledgers sat wrapped in plastic. He loaded them in a duffel and drove to Ruthie's house. She answered the door in a bathrobe. It's 9 o'clock. I need you to hold something, he said. She saw his face and nodded. Come in. The smoke woke him. Eli stumbled from bed and looked out. Orange light filled the yard. His equipment shed was burning. He ran outside in bare feet. Flames climbed the walls. The roof sagged. He grabbed the hose and turned it on. The water pressure was weak. The fire roared. Headlights swept the drive. Caleb's truck skidded to a stop. He jumped out with a fire extinguisher. Call 911, Caleb shouted. Eli ran for his phone. His hands shook. He dialed. The operator's voice was calm. Volunteers would come. 20 minutes. He ran back out. The shed collapsed. Sparks flew. The locomotive sat 20 feet away. Flames licked the cab. The paint blistered. Get back, Caleb yelled. The locomotive's fuel tank wasn't empty. Eli had checked. 5 gallons of old diesel. The cab exploded. The concussion knocked Eli down. His ears rang. Heat washed over him. Caleb dragged him backward. The hose lay limp. The fire spread to dry grass. Sirens echoed in the distance. Too far. Too slow. Eli watched his shed burn. Watched his tools melt. Watched evidence turn to ash. The fire truck arrived. Volunteers poured water. The fire fought back. It took an hour to kill it. Sheriff Dwyer showed up at dawn. He walked the scene with a flashlight. He picked up something near the fence and bagged it. "What is it?" Eli asked. "Gas can. Melted." Dwyer's face was unreadable. "Probably electrical. Old wiring." "I don't have wiring out here." "Must have been something." Dwyer pocketed the bag. "I'll file a report." "That's it? What else you want me to do?" "Investigate. Someone torched my shed." "You got proof?" Caleb stepped forward. He held up his phone. "I found this by the fence, before you got here." The photo showed a gas can. Red. Intact. Dwyer's jaw tightened. "You should have left it for me." "Looks like arson to me," Caleb said. "Looks like you're interfering with an investigation." Dwyer turned to Eli. "You got enemies, Mercer? Ask yourself that question." Dwyer's eyes went cold. "Careful." He left. The smoke drifted east. Eli stood in the ruins. The locomotive was scarred but intact. The boiler had survived. "They tried to destroy it," Eli said. "Who?" Caleb asked. "Whoever doesn't want me digging. They'll try again." "I know." Eli looked at the house, at the barn, at everything he could lose. "But I'm not stopping." Caleb clapped his shoulder. "Then I'm with you." They stood together as the sun rose. The fight had turned violent. The stakes were clear. Someone wanted him silent. And silence meant surrender. Mara brought a box of files to Eli's kitchen. She looked exhausted. They'd been working 16-hour days for 2 weeks. "I pulled my old complaint archive," she said, "from when I started in 2010. She spread papers across the table. Complaint forms, medical notes, maps with pins. "This is a health cluster," she said. "Along the spur line corridor, gastrointestinal illness, liver problems, cancer." Eli scanned the names. He stopped on one. Sarah Mercer, complaint filed 2019. His chest went hollow. "I'm sorry," Mara said. "I didn't know your wife was in the file." "What did she report?" "Nausea, fatigue, stomach pain. She asked about water quality." Mara pointed to a note. "I sent a test kit. She never returned it." "She got sicker," Eli said. "Fast. She died 6 months later." Mara was quiet. The clock ticked. Eli stared at his wife's handwriting. The complaint form, her signature. She'd known something was wrong. She'd tried to find out. "How many others?" he asked. 15 complaints in 10 years, all within 2 miles of the spur." "Did you investigate?" "I tried. Got shut down by county health. They said the sample size was too small. No clear pattern." "They lied. Or they didn't want to look." Mara pulled another file. "There's more. Ruthie found something." She unfolded a page, a legal document, deposition summary from a case that never went to trial. "Who gave this?" Eli asked. "Walter Finch, night switchman. He worked the yard in '88. Mara pointed to a paragraph. He described ghost loads, trains that ran off the books, no manifests, just verbal orders. Eli read it. Finch had been told to stay clear when those trains moved, told to forget what he saw. "He was paid to forget," Eli said. $1,000 a month. Cash. For 3 years. "Where is he now?" "Dead. Heart attack in '95. Mara closed the file. "But his testimony is on record. It proves the dumping." Eli looked at the map with pins. Each one a person. Each one a life touched by poison. "They killed my wife," he said. "We don't know." "They did." His voice cracked. "And they've been killing people for 30 years. Mara reached across the table. She squeezed his hand. "Then we make them pay." Eli nodded. The grief was crushing. But underneath it, something harder grew. Purpose, clarity, rage. He would finish this. For Sarah, for the others. For everyone who'd drunk that water and never knew why they got sick. "What's next?" he asked. "We go public. Show the evidence. Force the state to act." How? The county fair, next week. You're demonstrating metal cutting, remember? Eli had forgotten. A month ago, he'd agreed to show salvage techniques, a harmless stunt to draw a crowd. I can't do that now. Yes, you can, but we changed the demo. Mara's eyes were fierce. We cut open that locomotive, in front of everyone, show what's inside. The ledgers are gone. But the hidden compartments aren't. We show the welds, the empty spaces. We tell the story. Eli thought about it. A public reveal. No hiding, no backroom deals. They'll try to stop us, he said. Let them try. He stood. The decision settled in his bones. This was the battlefield. The fair. Open ground. Okay, he said. Let's do it. Eli and Gus worked in Eli's barn for 3 days. They built a portable welding stage, reinforced it for the locomotive's weight, practiced the cuts. You sure about this? Gus asked. No. Me neither. Gus tested the torch. But I'm tired of being scared. Caleb brought his truck to help haul the stage. Mara coordinated with the fair committee. They approved the demo reluctantly, too late to cancel without raising questions. Word spread fast. The farmer with the crazy locomotive was going to cut it open at the fair. Eli's phone rang constantly. Some neighbors were curious. Others were hostile. One call was just breathing. Then a hang-up. On Thursday, Len Barrow's attorney sent a letter. Spoliation of evidence. Destruction of potential hazmat. Legal action imminent. Eli taped it to his fridge. Friday, Mara showed up with a camera crew. A local news stringer. Young kid with hungry eyes. He wants to film, she said. Good. Eli, if you do this, there's no going back. You'll be the face of this fight. I'm already the face. Might as well own it. The kid set up his camera. He interviewed Eli on the porch. Eli told him about the locomotive, the spur, the drums, the water. Why now? The kid asked. Eli thought of Sarah, her hospital bed, the confusion in her eyes. Because people died, Eli said, and someone needs to answer for it. The interview aired that night. Eli's phone exploded. Threats, support, reporters calling. He turned it off and sat in the dark. Tomorrow, everything would change. The truth would be out. The powerful would push back. But the people would know. He walked to the barn. The stage was ready. The torch was fueled. Gus had marked the cutting lines on the locomotive's boiler. Eli ran his hand along the scarred metal. This engine had carried secrets for 30 years. Tomorrow, it would give them up. He locked the barn and went to bed. Sleep didn't come, but resolve did. At dawn, he loaded the stage onto Caleb's trailer. They drove to the fairgrounds. The sun rose orange and hard. You ready? Caleb asked. Eli watched the fairground gates open. People were already arriving, families, kids, vendors setting up. Somewhere in that crowd, the people who'd buried the truth were watching, waiting to stop him. Yeah, Eli said. I'm ready. They unloaded the stage. The locomotive gleamed under morning light. Rust and history, evidence and grief. Eli tested the torch one last time. The flame roared blue. By noon, the crowd would see everything, and by sunset, the county would burn. The fairground filled by 11. Eli watched from behind the stage. Families streamed past. Kids with cotton candy, old farmers comparing tractors. Caleb approached with worry in his eyes. My wife wants me to pull out. Why? She's scared. For our daughter. She thinks we'll get sued. You might. Caleb rubbed his jaw. But if nobody stands up, this never stops, right? Right. Then I'm staying. Caleb looked at the crowd. But Eli, if this goes wrong, it won't. You can't promise that. Eli met his eyes. No, I can't. They stood together. The weight of what they were risking hung between them. Caleb's farm, his family's water, his daughter's future. "Thank you," Eli said. Caleb nodded and walked away to check the winch. Sheriff Dwyer appeared at the stage perimeter. He wore his uniform and a hard expression. He motioned Eli over. "This is a mistake," Dwyer said. "That's your opinion. It's going to embarrass people. Good people. Good people don't bury poison." Dwyer's face reddened. "You think you're a hero? You're not. You're a bitter old man trying to blame someone for your wife's death." Eli's fists clenched. "My wife died from your father's corruption. You don't know that. I will after today. Listen to me." Dwyer stepped closer. His voice dropped. "Stop this now. Walk away. I'll make sure the cleanup happens. Quiet. Professional. Nobody gets hurt." "Too late for that. Damn it, Mercer." "Sheriff." Mara appeared with her camera. "Unless you're here officially, you need to step back." Dwyer glared at her, then at Eli. "This is on you, all of it." He walked away. Eli's hands shook. Mara touched his arm. "You okay?" "No." "Good. Angry is better than scared." The announcement came over the speakers. "Metal salvage demonstration in 10 minutes. East Stage." People drifted over. The crowd grew. Eli counted maybe 200, more than he'd expected. Gus climbed onto the stage. He waved Eli up. The locomotive sat center, scarred and waiting. Eli took a breath. The moment had arrived. He climbed the steps. The crowd noise faded. Faces stared up at him, some curious, some hostile. In the back, Len Barrow stood with arms crossed. Next to him, Dwyer watched with a radio in his hand. Eli picked up the microphone. His voice echoed across the fairground. "Thanks for coming. I'm Eli Mercer. This locomotive has a story, and you deserve to hear it." The crowd went silent. Behind him, Gus fired up the torch. The flame roared to life. 3 days before the fair, Eli had driven to the quarry alone. He needed photos, evidence to show alongside the locomotive. The gate was still chained. He parked on the access road and walked the perimeter fence. His camera hung from his neck. The quarry property stretched for acres. Fencing, private road markers, keep-out signs every 50 feet. He photographed everything: the stained culvert, the fence line, the road leading to the dumping site. At the main gate, a security camera watched from a pole. He waved at it, let them know he wasn't hiding. His phone rang. An unknown number. "Yeah?" "Mr. Mercer, this is Deputy Collins. Sheriff wants you to come in." "For what?" "Trespassing complaint. From Tri-County. I'm on a public road. Sheriff says come in, now." Eli drove to the station. Dwyer met him in the parking lot. 2 deputies stood nearby. "You were on private property," Dwyer said. "I was on the access road, public easement." "The road is private past the county line." "Then charge me." Dwyer studied him. "I'm trying to help you. You're making enemies you can't afford." "I've got plenty already." "This isn't a game, Mercer." "No, it's a reckoning." Dwyer's phone rang. He answered. His expression shifted. He listened and hung up. "You can go," he said. "Just like that?" "County attorney says we don't have enough for detention, but stay off private property." Eli walked to his truck. His hands were steady. The encounter had been theater, a warning wrapped in legal procedure. But it proved something important. Dwyer was nervous, making moves. That meant pressure was working. He drove home and called Mara. "I need you to check something. Historical billing records between Tri-County and the county sheriff's office." "What am I looking for?" "Payments, contracts, anything connecting them." "That could take days." "We've got 3 days until the fair. Use them." She called back that night. "Found it. Sheriff's office contracted security services to a company called Sentinel LLC. 91 through 95. Let me guess. Sentinel was owned by Tri-County. Close, owned by Harold Dwyer after he retired. He was on both sides. Yes, and the current sheriff signed off on renewed contracts when he took office. Eli closed his eyes. The corruption ran deeper than dumping. It was institutional, a closed loop of money and silence. Bring those records to the fair, he said. Already printed them. He hung up and stared at the ceiling. The evidence was piling up. Documents, photos, water tests, witness statements. Tomorrow it would all go public, and the people who'd buried the truth would have nowhere to hide. He fell asleep thinking of Sarah, of the water she'd drunk, the lies she'd believed. Justice was 3 days away. Mara's phone rang during breakfast. She answered and her face went pale. She listened without speaking. Eli set down his coffee. What is it? She hung up. The private lab I sent samples to. They just called. Chlorinated solvent breakdown products in the sediment and water. High concentrations. How high? Above EPA action levels. By a lot. She pulled out a notepad. They're recommending immediate cessation of any groundwater use within a mile of the site. That includes Caleb's well. And 6 other families. Eli's stomach dropped. They need to know. I'm calling County Health. They'll issue an advisory. She dialed. Her voice was professional but tight. This is Mara Chen, Environmental Services. I have lab results showing contamination. I need an emergency water advisory issued. She listened. Her jaw clenched. I understand. Protocols, but this is urgent. She paused. Fine, I'll submit the paperwork, but people are drinking this water right now. She hung up. They want 48 hours to verify. We don't have 48 hours. I know. She grabbed her keys. I'm going door to door, starting with Caleb. Eli followed her to Caleb's house. His neighbor answered, looking exhausted. His daughter coughed in the background. Is she sick? Mara asked. Started yesterday. Stomach bug, we think. Mara's face confirmed what Eli feared. Caleb, you need to stop using your well immediately. The lab results came back. Your water isn't safe. How bad? Bad enough that I'm telling you before the county does officially. Caleb sagged against the doorframe. Jesus! How long has it been like this? We don't know. Could be years. His wife appeared behind him. She held their daughter. The girl's face was pale. We've been poisoned? She asked. We think so, Mara said gently. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Caleb's wife's voice cracked. Sorry doesn't unpoison my daughter. Eli stepped forward. I'll bring you bottled water, cases of it, today. That's not enough, Caleb said. We need the people who did this to pay. They will, Eli said. Day after tomorrow, at the fair. I'm showing everything. Caleb looked at his daughter, then at Eli. Make them hurt, Eli nodded. I will. They left. Mara drove to the next house, and the next. Each conversation was the same. Shock, anger, fear. By evening, 7 families knew their water was contaminated, all of them within the spur corridor. Eli sat in his truck and called Ruthie. I need you to keep these lab reports. Safe place. Multiple copies. Already done, she said. I scanned everything and sent it to 3 different people, off-county systems. Good. Eli, people are scared, but they're also angry. They'll be at that fair. I'm counting on it. He drove home as the sun set. The weight of what he'd started pressed down. Lives disrupted, families frightened, property values destroyed. But the alternative was worse. More years of silence, more sickness, more death. He'd chosen the path. Now he had to walk it to the end. Storm clouds gathered Thursday night. The forecast showed rain through the weekend. Perfect weather for a disaster. Eli couldn't sleep. He lay in bed watching lightning flash. His phone buzzed constantly. Messages, threats, support. One message stood out. Unknown number. Stop now or lose everything. He deleted it and turned off the phone. At 3 a.m., he heard trucks on the road. He looked out. 2 vehicles idled near his gate. Dark. No lights. He grabbed his shotgun and went to the porch. The trucks didn't move. "Get off my property," he shouted. The truck sat, then slowly pulled away. A message delivered. Caleb called at dawn. "Someone slashed my tires last night, all 4. You okay?" "Yeah, but they're escalating." "I know. Fair's tomorrow. You still doing this?" "Yes." "Then I need to tell you something. The fair committee called. They're shutting down your demo." Eli's chest went cold. "On what grounds?" "Safety concerns. Hazardous materials. Len Barrow filed a complaint." "Can they do that?" "They're trying." Eli called Mara. She was already at the fairground arguing with officials. He heard her voice in the background. She came back on the line. "They're invoking emergency protocols, claiming the locomotive might be contaminated." "It's not." "Doesn't matter. They can shut us down administratively." "What do we do?" "I'm fighting it. But Eli, even if I win, they can make this difficult. Delays, inspections. They'll bury us in paperwork." Eli looked at the storm clouds. The locomotive sat in the barn, ready. The stage was loaded. The torch was fueled. He'd come too far to stop now. "Do what you can," he said. "I'll be there at 7 a.m., with or without permission." "Eli, see you tomorrow." He hung up and walked to the barn. The locomotive waited. Scarred. Silent. A monument to buried crimes. He placed his hand on the cold metal. Tomorrow he'd cut it open. Show everyone what had been hidden. If they tried to stop him, he'd do it anyway, in the parking lot if he had to, with cameras rolling. The truth was coming out, no matter the cost. He went back inside. Len Barrow's attorney letter sat on his fridge. Spoliation of evidence. Eli tore it down and threw it away. Tomorrow wasn't about legal procedure. It was about justice, and justice didn't ask permission. The crowd pressed close as Gus positioned the torch. Eli held the microphone. His voice carried over the fairground. This locomotive ran a route that wasn't supposed to exist, hauling cargo that wasn't supposed to be dumped, poisoning water that people still drink today. Murmurs rippled through the audience, some supportive, some skeptical. Inside this boiler, someone hid evidence, dispatch logs, maps, proof that Tri-County Agri-Services illegally dumped industrial waste for years, and proof that local officials knew about it. Dwyer pushed toward the stage. "That's slander." "It's truth." Eli pulled out the copied dispatch logs. Ruthie had given him extras. "These show runs to a quarry that was supposed to be closed, signed by Harold Dwyer, your father." The crowd noise swelled. People talking, shouting questions. "This isn't the place," Dwyer started. "Then where is? Your office? Where you've been blocking investigations?" Eli's voice rose. "My wife died because the water was poisoned. Caleb's daughter is sick right now from that same water. 7 families have been told their wells aren't safe." Caleb stood up in the crowd. "It's true. My kid's been drinking poison." Other voices joined. People who'd seen the test results, who'd been notified. Dwyer's hand moved to his radio. "This demonstration is over. Clear the area." "On what authority?" Mara stepped onto the stage. She held her camera high. "This is public land during a public event. He has every right. He's destroying evidence. Evidence you've refused to collect." Mara held up the water test results. "I have lab reports showing contamination, sediment samples showing illegal dumping, and billing records showing your office took payments from the company responsible." The crowd went silent, all eyes on Dwyer. His face reddened. "I never. Your signature is on the renewal contracts. 2015 through present. Mara's voice was steady. You're either incompetent or complicit. Which is it? Dwyer's radio crackled. He didn't respond. His hand trembled. Eli nodded at Gus. Do it. The torch roared. Gus brought it to the boiler plate. Sparks flew. The metal glowed orange. The crowd leaned in. A deputy tried to climb the stage. Caleb and 3 other neighbors blocked him. The metal gave. Gus cut through the first weld. Eli grabbed the crowbar and pried the plate open. Inside, wedged in the cavity, bagged ledgers appeared. Root stencils, a stamp kit with Tri-County's old logo. Eli pulled them out one by one, held them up. The news camera zoomed in. These show every run, every load, every signature. He opened a ledger, flipped pages, stopped on one. Here, March 15th, 1988. 8 tons to QR site. Access permit signed by... He held the page up. The signature was clear in the camera's view. Harold Dwyer? Sheriff? Your father? Dwyer stared at the page. His finger rose as if to touch it. The crowd pushed closer to see. His hand fell to his side. His shoulders sagged. He told me it was storage, Dwyer said quietly. He said they were just storing materials temporarily. And you believed him? Ruthie's voice cut through from the crowd. She climbed onto the stage. She held papers. I have his deposition from a civil case. He knew. He took money to look the other way. She read from the document. Dates, amounts, testimony from the night switchman who'd seen the ghost loads. The crowd noise turned angry, people shouting, demanding answers. Len Barrow pushed forward. This is all circumstantial, speculation from decades ago. We'll address it through proper legal channels. You mean you'll bury it again? Caleb shouted. We'll remediate. You'll pay. Eli pointed at Barrow. For every sick person, every contaminated well, every family you lied to. You can't prove causation. Watch me. Eli held up the water test results. 7 families, all downstream from your dump site, all with the same contaminants in their water. The crowd surged. Deputies formed a line. The tension crackled. Mara raised her camera higher. This is all on record now. The evidence, the documents, your responses. It's over. Dwyer's radio crackled again. A state police unit was en route. Someone had called them. Everyone stay calm, Dwyer said. But his voice had no force. He was a man watching his world collapse. Eli set down the microphone. The demonstration was done. The truth was out. The crowd didn't disperse. They stayed, witnesses to history being rewritten, to secrets being dragged into daylight. It started to rain. The storm hit hard Saturday morning. Eli's phone rang at 5 a.m. Mara's voice was urgent. The quarry's flooding. The runoff is opening the dump site. We need to document it now. In this weather? Especially in this weather. The evidence is surfacing. Eli dressed and grabbed his camera. Caleb's truck pulled up at the same time as Mara's county vehicle. I'm coming, Caleb said. They drove in convoy. Rain hammered the windshield. The quarry access road was already muddy. They parked at the gate. The chain was cut. Someone had been here recently. They climbed through and descended toward the old trestle site. The rain had swollen the seasonal creek. Water roared through the culvert. At the burial site, the ground had collapsed. A sinkhole gaped where the trestle abutment had stood. Water poured in, gouging deeper. Eli filmed it. The erosion was rapid, violent, the earth giving up what it had held. Look, Mara pointed. In the sinkhole's wall, rusted drum ends protruded. 1, 2, a dozen, more deeper in. Jesus, Caleb whispered. How many are there? I don't know. Eli moved closer. The edge was unstable. Mud slid under his boots. Mara grabbed his arm. Careful. I need to get one out. Physical evidence. Eli, this is hazmat. You can't touch it. Then what? Wait for the county to pretend it doesn't exist? The ground groaned. A section of bank calved off. More drums rolled into view. Eli ran to his truck. He grabbed a chain and his tractor's portable winch. Caleb helped him carry it back. "You're crazy," Mara said, but she didn't stop him. Eli anchored the winch to a tree. He played out the chain and descended to the sinkhole edge. The rain soaked him instantly. The ground was slick. He wrapped the chain around the nearest drum cluster. The metal was corroded but intact. He cinched it tight. "Pull," he shouted. Caleb worked the winch. The chain went taut. The drums shifted. The ground slumped beneath Eli's feet. He slid, caught himself. The edge crumbled. "Eli!" Mara screamed. The sinkhole lip broke. He dropped to one knee. The chain snapped tight. The drums lurched upward, tearing free. Caleb grabbed Eli's collar and hauled him backward. They fell together in the mud. The drums dragged onto solid ground. Eli lay gasping. The rain pounded his face. His heart hammered. "You're insane," Caleb panted. "Maybe." They stood and looked at the drums. 5 of them, chained together, labels flaking but readable, Tri-County logos, date stamps from 1988. Mara photographed everything, serial numbers, warning labels, the sinkhole, the eroding bank. Headlights swept the access road. Multiple vehicles. Eli's stomach tightened. "Who is that?" Caleb asked. A cruiser came first. Dwyer's. Behind it, a state police SUV. Then an unmarked sedan. They stopped at the sinkhole. Dwyer climbed out waterlogged. He looked at the drums. At Eli. At the collapsing bank. "Step away from those," he said. "They're evidence. They're hazardous material. You're contaminating yourselves." The state trooper approached. He wore rain gear and carried a radio. "Who's in charge here?" "I am," Mara said. "County Environmental Inspector. These drums were exposed by storm runoff. We're documenting the site." "Documenting?" Dwyer's voice was sharp. "You're interfering with a crime scene." "What crime?" Eli asked. Dwyer was silent. The trooper knelt by the drums. He photographed them. Called for hazmat. His voice was calm, but the urgency showed. "How many more are down there?" he asked. "Dozens," Mara said. "Maybe hundreds." The trooper looked at Dwyer. "Sheriff, I'll need access to your office records. All permits related to this site going back to 1980. Dwyer's face went gray. "Of course." The sedan passenger climbed out. A woman in a suit, state attorney's office insignia. "I'm Assistant Attorney General Reeves. Who found this site?" Eli raised his hand. "I did, 3 weeks ago." "And you are?" "Eli Mercer. This is my land." She studied him. "Mr. Mercer, I'll need to interview you, and I'll need all documentation you've collected." "I have copies. Ruthie Ames at the county library has the originals." "Smart." She turned to Dwyer. "Sheriff, you're not to enter your office until our investigators arrive. Consider this a formal notice." Dwyer nodded. He looked broken, beaten. Len Barrow's truck appeared on the road. It slowed, saw the police, reversed, and disappeared. "Someone should stop him," Caleb said. "We will," Reeves said. She made a call. Her voice was clipped, professional. The rain intensified. The sinkhole roared. More ground gave way. Eli watched the drums, evidence of decades of lies, of poison buried and forgotten, of people who died without knowing why. The chain marks cut through the mud. His muscles ached, but the weight in his chest had lifted. The fight wasn't over. But the truth was out. Finally. Completely. He turned to Mara. She was soaked and exhausted, but her eyes were clear. "We did it," she said. "Yeah," Eli replied. "We did." The storm finally broke Monday night. Eli stood at his kitchen window watching the clouds clear. His phone hadn't stopped ringing for 2 days. Reporters, lawyers, state officials, neighbors thanking him or cursing him, he'd stopped answering. Dwyer had been placed on administrative leave. The state attorney's office had seized his records and his father's old files from storage. The evidence was overwhelming. Len Barrow had been arrested at the airport trying to board a flight to Costa Rica. Bail was denied. Tri-County Agri-Services Board had resigned. The company faced criminal charges and civil suits from 7 families, maybe more once the investigation widened. Ruthie called Tuesday morning. The library's been full, people looking at the documents, reading the depositions. Everyone wants to know what happened. And now they do. Some are angry at you for stirring this up. I know. But more are grateful. Her voice softened. Sarah would be proud. Eli's throat tightened. I hope so. He hung up and drove to the quarry. State hazmat crews were everywhere. Yellow tape, sampling equipment, excavators pulling drums from the sinkhole. He parked at a distance and watched. This would take months, maybe years. The cleanup alone would cost millions. His land was in remediation status. The bank had called offering to freeze his loan while the investigation proceeded. An unexpected mercy. Caleb pulled up beside him. His daughter sat in the back seat. She looked better. Color in her cheeks. Doctor said she's recovering. No permanent damage. Good. They're testing 50 more wells. Found contamination in 3 so far. Caleb watched the excavators. How many people you think got sick? Don't know. Too many. The lawyers say we can sue. Class action. Will you? Yeah. My daughter deserves that. Caleb looked at him. What about you? I'm thinking about it. You should. Sarah deserved better. Eli nodded. He'd been thinking about Sarah constantly, her final months, the pain she'd endured, the questions she'd asked. She'd known something was wrong. She'd tried to find out, and the system had failed her. But Eli hadn't failed her. Not in the end. His phone buzzed. Mara. State Police want to interview you again. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. What for? Witness testimony, for the criminal case. She paused. Eli, they're talking about charges against Dwyer. Conspiracy, official misconduct, reckless endangerment. Good. He might do time. He should. His lawyer's claiming he didn't know the full extent, that his father misled him. Then he should have looked harder. He had 30 years. Mara was quiet. You okay? No, but I will be. You did something important. You know that, right? I did what needed doing. That's the same thing. He hung up and sat in silence. The excavators kept working. The rain had stopped, but the ground was saturated. More evidence surfacing every hour. A movement caught his eye. Dwyer's cruiser pulled up behind the tape. The former sheriff climbed out. He stood watching the excavation. His face was hollow. He saw Eli. Walked over. His uniform looked wrong on him now. A costume for a role he'd failed. I didn't know, Dwyer said. Not everything. Not how bad it was. You knew enough. I was trying to protect people. Jobs, livelihoods. You protected the wrong people. Dwyer nodded slowly. Yeah, I did. He looked at the quarry. My father said it was contained, that it wouldn't hurt anyone. I wanted to believe him. Belief isn't an excuse. No, it's not. Dwyer turned to leave. Stopped. Your wife, I'm sorry. Eli said nothing. The apology was too small. Too late. Dwyer drove away. Eli sat watching until the excavators stopped for the day. The sun set orange and cold. He drove home to an empty house, made dinner, sat at the table where he'd spread the maps weeks ago. The fight had cost him sleep, peace, friendships, his equipment shed, almost his farm. But it had given him something too. Clarity. purpose, justice. Sarah was still gone. The pain of that wouldn't fade, but her death meant something now. Her questions had been answered, her suffering acknowledged. Eli cleaned his plate and went to bed. Tomorrow would bring more interviews, more lawyers, more complications. But tonight, he slept. For the first time in months. 6 weeks later, Eli stood in his kitchen and turned on the tap. The water ran clear. He filled a glass and drank. It tasted clean. No metallic edge, no faint chemical scent. Just water. The remediation rigs still thumped at the quarry. They'd pulled 63 drums so far. More remained. The state estimated 18 months of cleanup. Maybe longer. Monitoring wells dotted the landscape like metal thistles. His fields, Caleb's land, the county road easement, each one checking, measuring, reporting. Eli had signed a consent order. It traded 12 acres along the spur corridor and a painful lien against his property. In exchange, formal cleanup, water treatment system installation, and protection from some liabilities. Not all. The lawsuits were still coming. His lawyer said they'd be tied up for years. But the farm was safe. The bank had restructured his loan. The locomotive sat stripped and cut apart in his barn. Evidence in a criminal case. He'd never see another dollar from salvage. But he hadn't bought it for salvage. Not really. Mara returned to work after a tense administrative review. She'd been cleared. Commended, even. The county needed her now. Too much cleanup. Too much oversight. She stopped by some mornings with coffee. They'd talk about progress, about setbacks, about the long road ahead. Gus had given a full deposition. His junkyard faced no charges. He'd cooperated, provided records, testified about the chain of custody. They weren't friends anymore. Not exactly, but they nodded when they passed on the road. Ruthie had curated an exhibit at the library. Documents, photos, timeline. She called it the Spur Line, a community reckoning. It drew visitors from across the state. Some came to gawk, others to grieve. All of them left understanding what had been buried. Dwyer had pled guilty to reduced charges, 18 months in minimum security. His father's reputation was destroyed, the family name tainted. Len Barrow awaited trial. His lawyers were fighting hard, but the evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses, documents, chemical analysis. He'd likely spend years in prison. Tri-County Agri-Services had filed bankruptcy. The lawsuits had broken them. The victims would get some compensation. Not enough. Never enough. But something. Caleb's daughter was healthy. The doctor said the early intervention had mattered. She'd recover fully. But they'd moved her to bottled water permanently. Trust was gone. 7 families had filed suit. More were considering it. A class action was forming. Eli had joined. So had Mara and Caleb. For Sarah. For everyone who'd drunk the water and never known why they'd gotten sick. The fair demo had aired on state news. The video went viral. Eli's face was everywhere for a week. Then the cycle moved on. Other stories. Other scandals. But here, in the county, nothing moved on. The cleanup would take years. The lawsuits longer. The memory would never fade. Eli set down the glass and looked out his window. The fields stretched brown and dormant. Winter was coming. But spring would follow. He'd plant again, harvest, rebuild what had been lost. The cost had been high. Friends, peace, the easy lie that everything was fine. But the ground was honest now. The water was clean. The truth was told. He thought of Sarah, her hospital bed, her final days, the questions in her eyes. "I found out," he whispered to the empty kitchen. "I made them answer." Outside, a monitoring well clicked and whirred, recording data, watching, ensuring the poison stayed buried this time. Eli filled another glass, drank it down. The water was cold and clean. It tasted like clarity, like justice, like truth finally brought to light.